They call me Pimp Daddy, cause I'm gonna throw you on the bed tonight. Do 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 do. Anyway, speaking of being fucked over, yeah, I kind of had a little bit of difficulty with section 2 of the book. Um, I made some serious fucking changes. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I liked it the way it was before. I liked, well, what I mean by that is when I looked at the table of contents, I really liked what was there. I liked how it was spaced out and the titles and how they just kind of went together. But then when I started reading it, the flow was completely fucked up. Now, part one is actually very good. It's very solid. Part two is just a clusterfuck. And I don't know what to do with it. Um, because what happened is I started telling the same story repeatedly because as I did each chapter, I told the story. Well, there were certain elements of said story that I had to harken back to, as in like, remember the time I talked about, remember the time when blah blah blah, and then I did that like 4 different times with the same topic. Like it kept going back to the same moment in time, and it was like each one is different, but I'm saying the same thing fucking repeatedly, and yeah. Now I will say that I did find a pretty good spot for the Easter basket story. The Easter my father lost his basket and his place at the dinner table, not to mention his place in our hearts and our wills. That story, I found a good place for that. I then had to take Dykes and Candy Corn Lights and Dumpster Diving Dykes and had to move that from section 2 up into section 1 just so it had, some continuity. The problem with that is that it made part 1 top heavy. And I don't really appreciate that. Well, again, all right, let me go through this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right? 14. Wait, 1. No, let me do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so there's 14 chapters in part 1. And then in part 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 14, 10, and then the last one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all fucked up. What the hell happened there? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so, but two just feels a little underwhelming to me. Plus, it's all just, oh my god, the whole thing is just fucked up. I mean, the whole midsection. Now, the bottom part, I know for a fact is much better than 2. But like I said, I kept saying the same thing over. In fact, it was so fucking bad I had to take out a whole story because I didn't even realize I had done the story twice. I literally did the fucking story twice. And I'm reading it, I'm like, man, this sounds familiar. This sounds really fucking familiar. And then I scroll down, I'm like, motherfucker. So I basically combined those two. Actually, I combined it into one. Let's see, what did I call it? The day that the Hobbit cries fall, can't we all get along? That's what I called it. I might tweak the title because I don't know if I like that, but you get the idea. Those two were fucking the same damn thing, and I can't believe I did that. I can't fucking believe I did the same thing because again I had this written thing out, and then I took it, wrote it, the thing. I had something written from before, and then I went and actually made it into a story, and then I went and did it again months later. Now, to be fair, I think this has been going on a couple years, so yeah, technically not my fault, but Anyways, so um, I'm not gonna do the whole rundown again, but so what I did was um, he did it for the cupboards of Mordor's and the glory of Mordor's riches, which is then followed by Ollie the Wonder Dog, who is no more, loss of a good friend, where they killed the fucking dog. And then we go into deconstruction, reconstruction, living in a house that Hell built. I then put the Easter basket story, DLT losing his place at the table and a hearts and a wills. I put that next. Then I put Dykes and Candy Corn Lights, dumpster diving, because that's talking about right before Gene moves out. And then it's followed up by Dale T's handwritten letter to Gene. Now, technically, if we were going chronological order, that should intermingle in between the two Candy Corn Light stories. The problem is, I set something up in the two Candy Corn stories where at the end it says, at the end of the first one it says something. Let me think. What was it? Oh, Gene gives my mother the candy corn light, and my mother's like, "What the hell are we gonna do with this thing?" And that's kind of how the first one ends. And then the second one ends weeks later after she's dead, and Dale T and I are looking at each other, looking at this candy corn light, saying, "What the hell are we gonna do with this thing?" So I wanted them both back to back, so that when you read them, they're like, "Oh, it's the same." Like she said, what the hell am I gonna do with this thing? And then we look at each other, what the hell are we gonna do with this thing? I wanted it that way. I don't want anything in between there. Now, you'd have to be like really astute. So like if I put Gene's letter in between those two, which is technically where they go. But no, I wanted it. I wanted it the way I wanted it, and those two stories do go together. So I just said screw it and put Dale T's handwritten letter to Gene, where he asked her to leave. I put that after dumpster diving. So whatever. And then we have Happy Trails, Hans, which I love that title. I know you probably don't get it or you don't care, but it's a Die Hard reference where John McClane's like, Happy Trails, Hans, because the bad guy's name was Hans. It's a classic line. So, so I used to hear Happy Trails, Hans, Gene's last day with us. That's funny to me. I can't help myself. Then we have Gene's handwritten letter to Dale T, and those two go right back to back. And then we have the anal reflection in the shit to come, which is my personal belief about my personal thought on Gene Collective, and it was kind of brutal. I'm not gonna be honest. I'm going to be honest. Excuse me. Let me say that right. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I meant to say. That was weird. I combined those two and said I'm not gonna. Whatever. You get my point. I was kind of. I wasn't mean. I was truthful, and sometimes that truthfulness was mean. So, but again, the reason that I didn't want to put the Candy Corn Light stories where I did in part one is because I wanted part two to start off with a lighthearted story about Gene, especially after we told her to leave, and I said I didn't say nasty things about her per se, although I kind of did. I basically said it was a heartfelt thing where I was like, you know what, she's being a complete bitch right now, because she did some stuff and it was just whatever. And I wasn't too keen on her at that moment, which I explained later, like the things that she did that bothered me. But so, anyways, I wanted part two to start off with a more lighthearted Gene story. Now, again, she's already left, so I'm telling a story before that, so it was a little bit out of order. But I don't know. I just didn't like the way it flowed. Anyways. Then part two starts off, the Committee of Three, No Four, Wait is Five. That actually is not a bad story. I kind of like that. It flows pretty good. Yeah, I like that one. And it takes off directly after Happy Trails on Gene's last day with us. So it continues right off. Now, I had to put in Gene's letter to Dale T, because essentially the way it played out is Gene had the moving van there in Happy Trails. And there was a whole fiasco with that where she wouldn't answer the door and all this other bullshit. And anyways, once she leaves the property, we all run upstairs. Now, by we I mean like the entire family, like his entire family. He had two of his sisters there, maybe three of us. I don't even remember. There was like a crap ton of people. That's why the whole committee of three, 4 wait is 5, came into being. Because there was a shitload of fucking people there, and they were all whatever. So yeah, that ends with us going into the hallway and finding her letter on the bottom step, which is then next Gene's written letter to Dale T, which that's technically not how it played out, but I tweaked it that way. She left it for him weeks prior, but I pretended it was on the step. So she leaves, we walk into the hallway, and we find her letter. And then I show the letter. And then I have a reflection of, the shit to come, my thoughts on the whole process. And then part 2 starts, and it goes committee of 3, and that's when we get upstairs. So there's this really nice little flow. It's weird. It's like it flows, but I fucked it up. I really legitimately fucked it up because, like I said, I started telling stuff over and over. Not even just that story, but there's like sections where it's like I'm constantly repeating the same thing. There's one trend where I've noticed, and it's like I'm trying to get people to understand what's it like to have strange people move into your house and then take over. And I keep mentioning that over and over and over. Now, I don't know if there's something we can do with that necessarily, or just have to take it out or rework it. I have no idea what to do with it. Because I don't know. Anyways, so we end with that, and then we have the day Jean flips out, goes ballistic, loses her mind, and her poodle figurines. And then I put the uninvited. I had to change the title because it's the uninvited. I called it the uninvited the setup story, and then the uninvited's 2, kind of like Metallica's Unforgiven 2, but with a point, because it was the first one was literally the setup story. Now here's the problem. I mentioned in there, quote unquote, the War of the Hoses, which is where Dale T gets a hose. I don't remember the story, and I don't think I wrote about it. I mentioned it in that section. I did that years ago, and I don't even remember about it. So that could be a little bit problematic. I may have to go back and just delete that part. So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Now, obviously, I want the uninviteds, and I want the uninviteds too, because essentially what the uninviteds were with Dale T and the Hobbit moving back in. They were the uninviteds. And then the uninviteds 2 is when she started inviting her family, so it's kind of a collection of fuckery. And then that's followed by the day the Hobbit cries fall. Can't we all just get along? Or maybe I should say, why can't we all get along? Or something. I don't know, something to that degree. Again, I had to combine those two, which fucking pisses me off, because that's a whole other chapter, Instead of having 10 here, I had 11, and now it's like, now I gotta go to 10, and it's just... One of my personal favorite stories, and I don't know if it's not necessarily because it's well written, but just because it's fucked up, is the Deathbed Confessions, the week I had pneumonia and nobody cared. I love that concept because it's like, in the story up to this point, you're starting to see the cracks breaking. You're starting to see that there's a problem. And, and that's followed up by the day I realized that my father loves a homeless guy more than me. And then that goes directly into the homeless guy standing there with the elbow deep in a jar of pickles talking about hay as if it's some sort of greeting. And then shortly after that, they get married. Hobbits in Vegas stays. And then I added Hobbits' Love, Lies, and Dirty Deeds story, which is a story about Nene and Martha Skintard. Martha Skintard. Oh, dude, I want to rip them fucking new one, dude. I want to rip them so fucking hard. I want to say horrible fucking things, and I know it's not godly. I know it's not church-like, but I don't care. But I'm a little bit concerned about part two because it, like right now, I'm totally confused because I had to take certain, and then I had in the actual story, like the compilation that I had where all the stories were together. Deathbed Confessions was completely out of place where it was in the table of contents. So I had to move that around, and then I had to, you know, because again, I'm going through like not necessarily a final edit. I'll probably do one more edit after this, but when I compiled everything, I then started going back through and like, does this make sense? Does it work? Blah blah blah. And then when I started to find there was some problems, especially in part two just got completely fucked over. But what I'm gonna have to do is probably wait a while and then come back and reread all of part two because I was doing one section and I'm like, well, this is similar to the other section. And then I found out that I had two sections that were the same, and then it's just the whole thing got me confused. Like right now, I couldn't tell you if I mentioned a certain couple paragraphs 3 or 4 times. It's like, oh, and like I said, I started saying the same shit multiple times. And it was just because again, I did them individually as individual stories, and then when you try to compile them, it's like, oh, I've already said this exactly, almost word for word, but it makes sense for this story. But as a reader, it doesn't make sense because you kind of already know that. And it's like, do I really want to take out entire paragraphs and entire whole sections when they're technically written completely different, even though it's on the same topic? So it's like, I mean, there's probably a little wiggle room for some of that, but I think I did it way too much. So yeah, part two is just a clusterfuck right now. But I did add a new. I took out. Well, I took out the two candy corn stories from part two, and then I had to combine two of the stories. So I lost 3 chapters there, and then I added one. So I lost net two. Or not net two, whatever the opposite of net two is. Whatever the fuck, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. And then I got a bad feeling the three's even going to be worse. Because I mean, not worse, but like Dale T's Little Fucking Inferno. I haven't reread that, and I don't know how it's going to play out because it's a different kind of story. Actually, I was talking about filler the other night. That this is probably the only one of the only filler stories that I have where it's just a complete, um, just it doesn't need to be in there, but I want it in there simply because, well, to fill space, and two, because I worked on it and I don't want it to go to waste. I think it might be kind of fun because again I go through Dante's nine levels of hell and I kind of talk about Dale T's 9 levels of hell. In and of itself could be funny. And then we got Dale T, Little Oink Fucker of a Man. That one's questionable. Cousin Renee's handwritten letter. So part three starts off a little weaker than I would like. But I kind of, because especially when you do the whole Hobbit love lies and dirty deeds after she had just gotten married, and then you go into Dale T's Little Fucking Fern, a little oink fucker of a man, and all that stuff. You know, it's sort of, yeah, I don't know. I think part three is going to be okay. I don't think it's gonna be perfect. I think I got a little bit of work to do with it, but definitely not as much as two. Because, like I said, two has just become a insane clusterfuck. Because now it's like I need to go back and reread the entire thing for the most part, because I don't know. I don't know what I've stated before, and my mind literally cannot wrap around it because, again, I was working on each thing. I went from part one, part two, all the way. I mean, I did every single chapter, but then I had to start moving stuff, and then I had to start deleting stuff. I had to start adding stuff, and now it's like I have no clue where I am right now. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take a couple days off and then just come back because what I'll have to do, what I'll have to do is come back and then just do the entire part two, get all that settled, and then go back up and kind of read part one. Because again, I don't want to be saying the same shit repeatedly. And if I said the same shit multiple times, then it needs to be worked on. Like, for example, Gold Digger's Guide could be a problem. My Father's Fornication that destroyed us all could be a problem. Day He Took Off and Abandoned Me. See, it keeps going back to that story. The day he took off, because Gene kept saying, oh, he abandoned us and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of these stories, when I talk about them, they go back to that moment and they kind of relive that moment. Which is okay, but I think in some cases I said it word for word. Like, for example, there's this section where I put it in a certain way because Gene was getting all fiery about, oh, your father abandoned us. And I wanted to make abundantly clear that, yeah, he moved out. And then at the beginning he wasn't there at night, but he, was there. Like, he mowed the lawn, he got the mail, he brought groceries, he did what he had to do. But Gene didn't see it that way. It was like, oh, he abandoned us. He abandoned us. And it was like, I mean, yeah, technically, I guess if you're going to be honest about it, he sort of did, but he was always there when we needed him. You know, like there's that one time, this is one of the things she did that disgusted me. Like, when she was on her way out, like, toward the end, she would turn the water on and go to work. She would turn on all the lights, all the TVs, everything she could upstairs. And she turned the water on, full blast, and then go home. Or then go off to work. Because she was just being a fucking bitch. And it was like, well, apparently by her doing that, one of the pipes burst. It was like 11:30 at night, and Dale T had just gotten to bed after working a 12-hour shift. He comes immediately back to our house, works almost all night, and then gets up and goes to work the next day. So she's sitting there acting like, oh, he abandoned us, he didn't do all this stuff, blah blah blah. You know, Dale T's many things, but he didn't abandon us. Okay, and that irritates me. That's always irritated me that she was going on about that. And then telling people about that. That just irritates me. That just irritates me on a lot of fucking different levels. So, I kind of kept mentioning that. Like, as in I wanted to hammer it home, but I did it, I think, too much, and I don't. But then I could. See, here's the problem. Now I don't know if there's multiple stories where I think there's at least two, maybe even three, where I did talk about that. But then I could. The problem is, I think I could be thinking about the same story. So it's like, if I kind of mention it, it's like, oh yeah, I remember talking about this. I already talked about this. But I didn't, because I'm reading it where I actually put it, if you get what I mean. I don't know. Anyways, what I think I might do is go through emails. So I might bulk up part two with another chapter of just emails that I sent to the Hobbit, because she sent some stuff back and forth too. Like, I actually would like to put that first email in there, or at least some variant of whether it's actually the email or, I quote from it, where I told her, I basically told her that if she came around the house, shit was going to happen. It's just, It's nothing personal. It's just I don't like to be around people, and if you're going to come around here, then there's going to be a problem. I'm going to say something eventually that's going to irritate you. I said that to her right point blank in a fucking email the first time I had to send her email, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll get along fine," and blah blah blah. It was one of those fucking bullshit moments, and I want to include that. So I think I'll bulk that up. So I'll have 10, 11, 12 chapters in there by the time I'm done, which is okay. Um, but uh, anyways, yeah, I just want you to know that right now, the entire two is like crumbling and falling apart. There's just a little bit enough to like prop it up. It's like propped up right now. Now it could actually be really good the way I've put it together, but in my mind right now, it's like it feels like it's just completely crumbled into nothing. Like scrap the entire book because it's just fuck it. I can't do it. I can't deal with it. That's how I feel. That's what it feels like. But I know there's enough stuff here where it's like, and I think even part two, the way it is currently, the way I have it set up right now, even though I'm still moving stuff around and trying to figure shit out, and chapters are moving here and moving there, and even though I'm still doing all that, I think it might actually flow fairly good. Again, there's just those sections that. But again, a couple of these chapters are really short. So if you take out 2 paragraphs, it's like there's only like a paragraph and a half left for an entire chapter, and it's like you can't do that. So I've been trying to bulk up some of these other ones that are only, you know, because some of them are not that long, and I didn't realize that at the time. Um, and here's the problem: if I start making these like sub chapters, it's gonna take away from the overall appearance, where it's gonna look like okay, there's 3 chapters and like 4 sub chapters. That doesn't really work either. So it's like, ugh. I don't know. I don't know, but there's definitely I definitely think there's enough here. It's weird. It's like I don't know. I like I said I just don't know. Um, do. Yeah. Hmm. Because I wasn't really that happy with the Committee of Three story being first in part two, but it makes sense because it's the next story, so it picks right up where one basically left off. So okay, I could because before that I had the 2 dumpster stories right there, but they just didn't fit. But I like them there because I wanted to start off two, like I said, with kind of a positive Jean story after kind of shitting all over her. And it's just one it was not chronological order, which just didn't work, and they worked better elsewhere. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they actually work better where I put them, but I put them where they are because that's where they should be. So that's kind of a problem too. That might be a bit of a problem. I don't know how the flow goes because going from Easter basket right into candy corn, I don't know how that's going to play out. And another problem that I'm having, I don't know if it's a problem though. That's the thing. Is I keep bouncing back and forth where it's like, oh, we went to the store today, but I remember back when my mother died and my mother said this and blah. I keep going back to like before she died or right after she died or whatever. I keep going back to that, and it's kind of annoying me, but it was necessary. But I don't know if it I don't know how like a reader who's not familiar with the story is going to take it. So that might be a little bit of a problem too, because again, that's what I mean. Part of the clusterfuck. I literally keep saying the same shit. I keep going back to the same. Now, going back to the same past event is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're gonna focus multiple chapters around, oh, let me tell you the story again, that doesn't work. And I don't know how much of that I actually ended up doing. So, it's depressing because I actually thought I was doing pretty good. because it kind of pissed me off. The whole Easter basket story, which I had as number 2, believe it or not, that is almost all the way down. That's about more than halfway down on part 1. So, but then to be honest with you, I like the placement of it. I like the placement. It works, and I think with the exception of just a couple little minor details, I think 1 tells a very cohesive story. Um, Without too much overlog of the same shit being said. Because ultimately it was supposed to end with Jean being evicted. It was supposed to start off as a continuation of book 2, like just kind of like just a random story, and then we're gonna go into, oh, he's met a new woman and he moves out, and then they move back in and they start remodeling the house, and then they ask Jean to move, and then they killed the dog, and I don't know, they killed the dog and then they asked Jean to move. Whatever. And that was supposed to be part 1. There's a lot going on there too. And then part 2 is where we're cleaning up after Jean, and Jean's a bad guy, and what she was. She was a complete piece of trash right there. I mean, I can understand she's butthurt, but she did, like, she wrote on the wall and stuff in crayon, and it was kind of sad. It really was kind of sad, and I'm telling you right now, she flipped her fucking wig. She lost her shit. She actually went off the deep end. I think she had a breakdown. Honest to God, I'm being serious when I say that. Which, you know, I kind of talked about. Yeah, the day Jean flips out, goes ballistic, loses her mind, and her poodle figurines. Which I think that actually fits pretty good under the Committee of 3, no 4, wait, it's 5. I think that story, because again, that's the take. Because again, what I did so well is that these stories go like boom, 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 one right after the other. The only problem is a lot of what I talked about in the story, like I said, I repeated, or you know, it's like, how can I do something so good and then fuck something else up? So tiny, it's like that tiny little thing. It's like that 3% just fucks over the 90% or 97%. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, because the Uninvited story technically could be combined into like one big story. But obviously I wanted Uninvited 2 because I wanted to make the Metallica joke, which is the whole point, because it's just fucking stupid that they made a fucking song. Not only that, I think there's like Unforgiven 3, and then I think there's a 4th one even. And it's like, are you kidding me with that shit? And I thought it worked out perfectly, like I said, because the Invited were first Dale T and his mistress, and then she starts inviting her family. So it's like you got the Uninviteds and you got the Uninviteds too. It worked. It actually worked. And no, actually, you know what? I think that works. So fuck it. Fuck what I said about it. I like the fact that there's 2. 1, it makes the joke about the Metallica song, which is funny. And then 2, it actually makes sense. It actually works within the context of what I've written. So, hey, you know what? Now, the story, The Day the Hobbit Cries Fall, Can't We All Get Along, which was the 2 stories that I did identically, that one's actually kind of interesting. I think what's happening is my mind is saying you did the same thing twice and you had to delete one, so now what you had there is somehow lesser than what was there. Because it's, there was 2, now there's 1, which is not the case. It's the same story. It's literally the same story. Which was okay. I don't know if it was the best one there, but it was definitely, 1, it had to be told because it was part of the main narrative, and 2, so I think that's part of my problem. I'm looking at that thinking, because I essentially basically combined the titles, because I like the Can't We All Get Along, and I had the that fucking song from War, whatever the fuck there, Why Can't We Be Friends, as the quote, and it worked funny. It was funny. At least I thought it was funny. And then you got the whole thing, she cries foul, or she cries to her mother, wah, wah, wah. So it worked out. Even though it feels in my mind that it's less than. It's technically not. In fact, if anything, it's better because, one, I had two. I felt that the story itself was not the best, so it was kind of like, it's okay, but again, it needs to be told because it's part of the narrative. So it was kind of an okay story. So I had two okay stories that I then combined into one okay story. So that was technically a net plus, I guess. It was a positive. And then I kept the two titles, the two whatever, yeah, the two titles. So again, it was kind of a positive, but in my mind, it's like, no, it's not positive because you lost something, and it's like, but I gained something, but you lost something. So I think that's part of what's fucking me up here. Because the Committee of Three is a solid story. Gene Flips Out is a solid story. Uninvited is okay. Uninvited 2 is good, um, from my opinion. And then the day the Hobbit cries foul, can't we all get along? That's a good story. Deathbed for Confessions is probably a little bit better than good. I realize that Dale T loves the homeless guy more than me. That's a good story. And the homeless guy in the pickles, half naked in the kitchen. That one is good. What Hobbits in Vegas is good. Now, Hobbit Love Live. See, that one I kind of just cobbled together last night, so I definitely have to re-edit that one. I have to go back and try to deal with that one because essentially what it was, I took the email that I had sent my aunt trying to diffuse all this stuff, and I basically did bullet points. I did like 1, 2, 3, and I did like different paragraphs, and I tried to put it all together. So you have all these different things going on, and I put it in the sense that I wanted to kind of go over the things that pissed me off. So like one paragraph is about, this thing, and the next paragraph is, and also there was this, and then so on and so forth. So it was kind of one of those things, and I kind of bitch slapped the Skinners there a little bit. Whatever. So I don't know if the layout's good. I may have to retweak that, but whatever. I literally just added that, so whatever. And then, like I said, I think part 3. I think right now, currently, the end. Actually, most of part 3, I think, goes pretty good. Like everything from Gene's little fuck party on, Gene's little 4th of July fuck party in September. That one, everything I think goes fairly good. So there's just I mean, realistically, DLT's little fucking Inferno, oink fucker of a man. I don't know. I don't know. Like, you probably could cut those, but I don't want to cut those. Because I'm trying to remember what Oink Fucker the Man is, and that's part of the problem. I can't remember what it's about. Like, DLT's little fuck Inferno. That, you could cut that. Like I said, I put too much time into it that I don't really want to see it cut. Plus, it's kind of a funny little take on Dante's Inferno, like I said. And it's fitting for the topic. It's fitting for, because he basically, this is where part 3 is when they fucking throw me under the bus. Because 2 ends with them getting married, essentially. Now, Hobbit Love Lies and Dirty Deeds, that probably can move somewhere in part 2. I don't know where yet. But again, I'm going to have to go back through all that stuff. So, oh my god, it's just... But again, I'm frustrated, but I love this shit. Because it's just... it's a really weird frustration. It's like... I'm happy to be frustrated, if that makes sense. Because I like I like having the opportunity to think this shit out. Like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? What am I going to do? How am I going to make this work? And I like that. It's one of the reasons I like video games and shit. Because it's like, okay, I see something. How do I get over there? it's that I like to think shit out, and that's what I'm good at, and I'm gonna make this fucker work, or die fucking trying, because believe me, I ain't giving up. There, dude, there's fucking too much shit here, and not only that, but there's some good quality shit here too. Now I'm not saying the whole thing is good quality, because I'll even admit there might be a couple weak spots, like flimsy weak, like to the point where House of Cards is kind of flimsy. But there's also some really good quality shit here, like just really good, like one-liners and shit that are just they're great. I'm a fucking genius. Okay, it's that great. It goes from literally House of Cards to I'm a fucking genius, and it's just, and sometimes it's within like one sentence is just like and the next minute, oh my god, it's great. So it's weird. It's a really weird little dichotomy of cockery. It's just I can't help myself. Dichotomy of cockery. That should be in the book somewhere too, but whatever. Oh, but I think I will be able to figure it out. Because, like I said, I think the way it is set up right now, I'm talking just part two, I think it's actually much better than I'm giving it credit for. Because I just have it in my, again, my mindset that I've lost something. It's, my mind is thinking it's something that it's not. And I think what's here is actually fairly good. It may need some tweaks in a couple spots. There's no getting around it. It may need a lot of tweaks in a lot of spots, but I think what's here is good. You know, good, clean, and wholesome. You know, Lord looked at it and said it was good. Kind of a deal. Let there be fucking light, okay? Speaking of goddamn lights, that one out in the fucking kitchen just blew again. That pisses me off. Because I can't keep light bulbs in this fucking apartment to save my life. I had to get those fucking $5 squirrely ones, those little twinker ones. Because you try to get the old Edison ones, the old round bulbs, the fucking things blow within like 2 minutes. Honestly, God, I had one for 2 days and it bloop, just disappeared. And it wasn't a bad bulb. I've tried numerous ones. I've tried numerous packages, and those just bloop. But I get those little twisty ones, those little fuck twisty ones that have like the toxic shit in them. Yeah, they last me. They don't last me the 5 years like they say they do. But you know, under the circumstance. But then I got to pay $5 each one for those fuckers. And it's like, no, I don't have $5 for no fucking light bulb. Fuck you. Oh, anyways, anything else I want to talk about? I got 30. God damn it, 30. Dude, this thing was at 100 fucking percent not that long ago. God damn it, this battery is shitting my fucking biscuits. I tell you. All right. I think I'm gonna end this. I want to try to see if I can find some emails, because here's the problem with that. It would be on my Yahoo account, and ever since the fuckers got hacked, I haven't been able to get into my Yahoo account. So every time I go to Yahoo, I have to have it send a code to my Gmail, which then means I gotta go to the Gmail, hopefully remember the fucking password for that, retrieve the fucking code. And you can't just copy the code, so I have to go like 344, go back to the page 344, then go back to the fucking code 837 dash, and then go 837. It's fucking obnoxious bullshit. And I don't know how to reset my password on fucking Yahoo. I have no clue. So I have to keep jerking around every time I want to fucking go on there, which I don't go on anymore. I don't read my emails anymore. And then I gotta go back 10 fucking years worth of emails. 10 fucking years to try to get back to that shit. Maybe there's a search. Oh, maybe there's a search. I bet there is. Shit. I bet I can search. Or at least search year or date or some shit. Ooh, that's an idea. So anyways, that's what I'll be doing. Yay! But it could lead to some good stuff. It's also there's also emails from Gene too. Oh, that could lead. Oh, especially around 2006 ish. Ooh, that could be good. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that shit. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. I got 35%. I'm gonna go back and do that right now. You know what? So fuck you. Bye bye. Bye bye. I'll let you know if I find anything good. So whatever.